So Viltrox was nice enough to team up with the Z8 Photo YouTube channel, and they sent me a lens that I think might be the reason there are so many Nikon Z 135mm Plenas on the used market right now. This is the Viltrox 135mm f1.8 Lab for the Nikon Z mount. The lens is $899. But what can it do? We're going to find out. First, Viltrox didn't send me any talking points. They simply said, "We'd like you to test it and create some content sharing your thoughts." We are going to get to the tests, but first, I've got some basic notes on this lens. 14 elements and 9 groups, 4 of which are ED, 2 of which are high refractive index lenses. Viltrox claims, even in strong light, the lens ensures superb color reproduction and contrast for outstanding image quality and superior chromatic aberration control. As far as construction is concerned, we have advanced dust and moisture resistance to protect those internals, a magnesium aluminum alloy construction, an 11-bladed aperture for circular bokeh, which ranges from f1.8 to f16. For coatings, for the life of me, I couldn't find anything specific, except that the front element Viltrox says is multi-coated with anti-smudge coating. Functionally, we get Viltrox Hyper VCM focus motors, which are supposedly 150% faster than traditional STM motors, with micron-level accuracy. If you don't know what a micron is, that's 1/1,000,000th of a meter. That's the 6 decimal place. We'll see that speed later. There are lots of buttons and things on the lens, including focus and aperture rings, of course, but also 2 function buttons, an auto manual switch, and surprisingly, a focus limit button, which is generally seen on macro lenses, but not so much otherwise these days. But that's cool. We also get a little lens data display screen, which Nikon used to do but seems to have stopped, and a click switch. What's a click switch? Interesting. On the mount itself, we also have a USB-C port for future firmware updates. Size-wise, we're talking 93 by 147.6mm, that's roughly 3.7 by 5.8 inches, and it weighs 1,265 grams, or almost 2.8 pounds.
Initiate improvised touch and feel process.
Look how trashy I look today. Yeah, no definition. Ooh. So this lens feels a beefy, very, very beefy. And I'm not doing the Plena comparison to this today. That's coming up really soon, so subscribe so you don't miss it. But I do want to note the weight difference. The Lab is heavier. It feels quite heavier. I don't know if it actually is, but it's also longer, so like maybe that's helping it feel heavier, but maybe the actual weight isn't that different. Anyway, that's for another time. So, the click. I want to talk about the click first. Right now, I've got it on smooth mode. I don't hate that. That's quite fun. I just don't know if it's particularly useful. It's pretty... It does have like a good feel to it, but the clicks come fast. It's not like an actual aperture ring where it's like click, space, click, space, click. It's just click, 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 right? There's like no space. And so I don't know if I like it for use of changing the aperture. I'm so accustomed to just doing it like this without looking. So I probably wouldn't use that, and so I would probably leave it off, but it is fun. On the side here, we also got a focus limiter switch, which is the most clicky of clicking function buttons that I've ever, or function switches. It's preposterously clicky, and I like it. Now the auto manual focus, it's loud, right? It's very clicky, very like direct. I like that. The focus ring does feel incredible. I don't know if it'll translate because it's, you know, focus by wire these days. I don't know if it will react as smooth as it feels, but boy, does it feel good. The front element is just huge and gaping. I love it. Now, something you want to keep in mind on the rear element, it's real deep. So you're going to want to not get anything down there because it'll be tough to blow out. What? Now let me let the dog out of the soundproofed room. As I was saying, it's really deep. It'll be a pain to get it out, and there is some gap in there as well. And so, you know, just be careful. Don't run around with this, you know, without a cover on it. Something I do like, I like the red weather sealing opposed to the black because you can actually see it. You can see it, you know it's weather sealed, right? It's obvious. Whereas on the Nikons, it's black and you kind of really have to look to see if it's actually there. You know, it is. The Plena is weather sealed, but it's just not as obvious as it is whenever it's like a brighter color. And so I like that. It just makes you feel a little bit better. You don't have to second guess it. Got a display screen, which we don't see on Nikons anymore. The function buttons are nice and clicky. They have a bit of haptic feedback to them, but they do have a bit longer of a press. That's okay. They have more feedback to them and more sound than the Nikons, but I do kind of like the way that the Nikons are, they kind of have this little ridge around them. That's going to be impossible to see, but they have a little ridge and the button is kind of level with that, and so it has a feeling of being a little recessed. That's a little bit nicer, but that's also not nearly as nice as the price of this. $899 for a pretty good feeling solid. It's plastic on the outside, right? It feels pretty much plastic all over, but it does have that aluminum alloy chassis, magnesium aluminum alloy. I haven't been as excited to test a lens that was sent to me for free, by the way. Thank you so much, Viltrox. This is a hot commodity. This is big for the channel because traditionally what I've been getting are the cheaper Chinese type lenses, right? The things that are $89, $79, and I get burnt out on using those because they're not up to an optical quality that I'm interested in using. I don't like reviewing things that I'm not interested in using myself because I don't want somebody else to go buy it if I'm never gonna use it, you know? I can't back up something that I don't necessarily care about. This I care about, right? This is significantly cheaper than the Plena, and the reviews on this are outstanding. And so I'm super excited to get out and today test just the optical performance with a lot more videos to come in the future, as well as like a comparison. But today we're doing as I always do. We're going to test the sharpness, the contrast, the color saturation, all that jazz. You guys know what it's about. Let's get out into the yard and let's just get that out of the way, and then we'll do a short little walk around with some real pictures. So the thing with the focus limiter switch is there's actually 3 settings. There is full, there is 0.7 to 2 meters, and then there's 1.5 meters to infinity. I just left it on full. I'm a man of simple tastes. When left in full, it sometimes wants to stop about halfway to infinity. Then I had to release my back button focus and press again to go the rest of the way, as if it's stopping at that second option. When left in full, it does get just a little bit hunty. Now, I don't care for this because I like things to just operate simple. But for what it's worth, I did test it out, and if you actually use the limiter switch, it is actually much better performing. It's much tighter, it gives you more confidence. You can physically see that it is responding a little bit better. I also want to note that there is a noticeable difference in how this lens performs in AFC and AFS. AFS seems a lot smoother and tighter, and AFC tends to kind of hunt a little bit real quick trying to find the perfect spot, all of which really doesn't matter that much if you're shooting portraits. Now we got to do the same tests that we would do with a Nikon-made lens. We have to check our color saturation, so let's get our lantern. Through the viewfinder, it does have a little bit of an orange kind of tone to it, whereas Nikons are more kind of spot-on juicy red. And the blues, at least to the viewfinder, exactly what I want from blue. It's not JPEGy, it's perfect for me. Yellows seem about accurate, actually. Greens do too. Greens look spot on, which is good for me because I can't stand oversaturated greens. Now, because it's soaking wet today, my typical black and white ability subject is pretty much compromised. We may have to use our walk-around images to determine black and white ability. It's a very rich-looking lens through the viewfinder. Just looking through the viewfinder, you can tell that it hits different than typical third-party kind of output. Alrighty, so here we are in Lightroom, and the orange kind of look that I thought I saw in the reds is not as apparent in this image as it was through the viewfinder. I would say that the red saturation is just on. It's not overly saturated, it's just right on. The blues, again, they're not super saturated. This is what I prefer. I prefer this kind of blue, but in my scoring, I would actually call this a little lower because it's not super saturated. It's just what I prefer. It's not what most people prefer. We got some vignetting on this lens. Pretty easy kind of stuff to correct though. We can go down here and see if Our little tool here will fix it. Yeah, it's pretty much gone at +7. I always add some though, so I would just probably leave that alone. Looking at our yellows, again, this is dead on. It's not undersaturated, it's not oversaturated, it's right on. And then greens, spot on. This is exactly what the yard looks like. Wow, it's really detailed at the even at that far distance. All right, and this is our black and white ability, my regular subject, totally compromised because it's just soaking wet. There's no variation in tone to look at. We know the rules, we just hit the B and W. I'd give this a 2. It's not really flat. It's not super black and white ability, but it's certainly not like a bad score right now. We'll look at more later because this isn't the best subject to test black and white ability. And I took a couple extra shots right here to verify if I was seeing some orange. There is a tiny bit of orange tone in the red, but not a lot. I would stand firm that the reds are just right there. They're not oversaturated, really. They're not undersaturated. Let me go back here, double check that. I don't know what I said at the beginning, but my current opinion is color saturation, reds just barely past normal, blues slightly under. That's my preference. Yellows are dead on, greens are dead on. Black and white ability is right in the middle. Let me see what this looks like with Gravedigger. Let me hover over that. Looks fantastic. Remember, everybody, that the rule in testing black and white ability on my channel is we just hit black and white to see what it looks like inherently. That is only the method that I use to be able to compare each lens to each other. You should never just hit black and white. At the very least, you should add some contrast. But that's still not good enough. Don't leave it there. So now we can get into the little short walk around I did in the backyard. I didn't do a huge walk around because I'm shooting portraits with this lens today with Allie. As I make this video, I'm doing it before I go and meet her. This lens is pretty sharp. I'm a little bit too close to get perfect peak sharpness of this lens. I can tell I'm just a little bit too close, but I love the contrast gives us all these little extra details because there is so much contrast in this lens. Love the color. The images come together a lot better than each individual color tested on its own. There we go. This is a more appropriate distance to focus. This lens looks fantastic. I would say it doesn't even sniff the talent that the Plena has for sharpness, I don't think. I mean, it is really sharp, but the Plena is outstanding. But this lens looks incredible. This image in particular has a warmth to it, and I badly want to just give this a little play. Whoa, man, this is a nice lens, Viltrox. That didn't take a whole lot. I tried cooling it down a little bit to see if I preferred it, but I kind of like the natural warmth that I'm getting out of this particular image. I tried some little shallow depthy stuff, even though I've already learned in the past that 135 is not my favorite focal length for the shallow depth of fieldy kind of stuff. I don't want to give away my adjustments for Gravedigger, so I'll just hover over it. But hitting that with a Gravedigger gives us some kind of abstract shallow depth of fieldy stuff. This is what I do in my free time when I'm not on YouTube. It looks pretty good. This is probably honestly like a color image though. Not ideal for shallow depth of field. I don't like the focal length for shallow depth of field, but very contrasty. Let's just get in here. It is so detailed. Lots of contrast, which gives it even more detail. Even though it's not as sharp as the Plena, it has every bit as much of contrast, I feel, which makes it appear more sharp when you're not getting in here at like 200% and being unfair. You just look at it like this and it's like, wow, that's sharp. And then you get in close and you realize that the outstanding contrast is what is making the overall image at normal viewing distances look so freaking fantastic and sharp. We had absolutely perfect water droplets. Look at the color. Look at the way the overall image comes together. This is why overall image quality to me is more important than the sum of everything graded individually. At least to memory, sharpness, not as good as the Plena. Contrast, it's probably right there, but maybe not as good. Black and white ability is not there. Color saturation is not there. But that's grading everything on an individual basis. When we're looking at it just like this, the overall image quality is just absolutely excellent. And it's outrageously cheaper than the Plena. A little bit too close to minimum focus on that one. The last couple, actually. Here we go. It looks like I backed up just a little bit. These out of focus droplets are getting kind of silly. I would probably like spot heal those out. So you really don't want to get in at 200% on this lens because you see, and you'll know that, oh, it's not as good as the Plena. But there are definitely differences that come at that price. Like this here. You don't see this kind of thing on, you know, the Plena, which is over double the price, of course. There you go. I just saved you like 1,500 bucks. Yeah, you want me to do it again? There. It wasn't even a good looking water droplet. You just removed the whole thing. This one here looks pretty ridiculous. There, I just saved you a bunch of money. This is a portrait lens anyway. Who cares? We're at a good focus distance. Good water droplets on this shallow depth of fieldy kind of shot. Finish that off with a little vignette. Ooh, the sharpness is really good on this lens. Viltrox did an excellent job on this. Just hit previous on that. Oh, sick. Needs to be a little bit brighter. Sick. I love that. That's pretty much the same thing. That's pretty much the same thing. I love these water droplets, as you can see. And the final one here, focus on this droplet right here. Whoa! Look at the details in that. It's picking up the reflections of the ribs of the leaf. That is outstanding. Super cool. I love it. Well, Viltrox, thank you for sending this lens. It's absolutely killer. You did an excellent job with this. I can't wait to get out and actually do some portraits, which is what this lens is for. Let's be honest. This is such a portrait lens, and I'm doing that literally right now. If you want to pick this lens up for yourself, check the links in the description. I get a small commission if you do so. I'm Z Wade, the Z Wade, and Z Wade Photo. Stay sharp, YouTube.